Imagine this for a second. The most powerful sports brand on earth almost collapsed because its founder couldn't stop borrowing money he didn't have. The logo you see everywhere, the shoes worn by legends, the slogan repeated by millions. All of it once balanced on the edge of bankruptcy, lawsuits, and personal obsession. Nike didn't begin as a confident empire. It began as a fragile, reckless experiment driven by a man who wasn't trying to build a brand at all. He was trying to outrun something inside himself. In the early 1960s, Phil Knight was not a visionary billionaire. He was a shy, awkward young man with a stutter, freshly graduated from Stanford, still haunted by a single question: what am I going to do with my life? He had run track in college not as a star, but as someone always chasing faster people. Running taught him discipline, pain, and humility. But it didn't give him a future. What it did give him was an obsession with the idea that better shoes could unlock human potential. At Stanford, Knight wrote a paper suggesting that Japanese running shoes could compete with German brands like Adidas and Puma, which dominated the world at the time. It was just an academic idea, a hypothetical, but that idea refused to leave him alone. After graduation, instead of settling into a safe corporate job, Knight did something irrational. He borrowed money from his father and flew to Japan without a clear plan, without connections, and without experience. He was betting everything on a theory and his own stubborn belief. In a small office in Kobe, he met executives from a company called Onitsuka Tiger. With no company behind him, no factory, and no capital, Knight lied, calmly, confidently. He told them he represented an American distributor. He shook hands on a deal that didn't yet exist. That moment could have ended in humiliation. Instead, it became the first brick in what would later be called Nike. Not because of strategy, not because of genius, but because Knight was willing to commit before certainty arrived. Back in the United States, Blue Ribbon Sports was born. It wasn't Nike yet. It didn't feel like a company at all. Knight stored boxes of shoes in his parents' basement. He sold them out of the trunk of his car at track meets. His first partner, Bill Bowerman, his former track coach, wasn't interested in business. He was obsessed with one thing only: performance. Bowerman cut shoes apart, burned rubber in waffle irons, and experimented endlessly, trying to shave seconds off athletes' times. While Knight worried about cash flow, Bowerman worried about feet, friction, and form. This tension defined the company from the beginning. Knight lived in spreadsheets, debt, and fear. Bowerman lived in innovation and obsession. Together, they created something neither could build alone. But even then, success didn't come quickly. Every dollar earned was immediately reinvested into inventory. Profits didn't exist. Growth was fueled by loans, delays, and trust that tomorrow would somehow be better than today. Banks didn't trust Blue Ribbon Sports. Accountants warned them. Advisors told Knight to slow down, to stop expanding so aggressively. He ignored all of them. Growth to him wasn't a strategy. It was survival. If they stopped moving forward, the entire structure would collapse under its own weight. This created a dangerous cycle. More sales required more inventory. More inventory required more loans. More loans required more faith. And faith is a currency banks don't accept. As competitors caught on, cracks began to appear. Onitsuka Tiger, the very company supplying their shoes, began to see Blue Ribbon not as a partner, but as a threat. Meetings turned tense. Contracts became ambiguous. Eventually, Onitsuka tried to cut Knight out completely. For most businesses, losing their only supplier would mean the end. For Blue Ribbon Sports, it triggered a desperate reinvention. Knight made a decision that could either save the company or destroy it. He would create his own brand, his own shoes, his own identity. The risk was enormous. Manufacturing required capital they didn't have. Branding required confidence they hadn't earned. And yet, there was no alternative. The company was already drowning. This was either a lifeline or the final mistake. The name Nike came from a dream. Literally. One of Knight's early employees dreamed of the Greek goddess of victory and suggested the name hours before deadline. The logo, the now iconic swoosh, was designed by a student for $35. Knight didn't even love it at first. He said it would grow on him. That line captures something essential about Nike's DNA. It was never about perfection. It was about movement. Momentum. Belief that meaning could be built later. The first Nike shoes were rough, imperfect, athletes complained, soles peeled. Quality issues surfaced immediately. Meanwhile, lawsuits arrived from Onitsuka Tiger claiming breach of contract. The company was bleeding money while fighting legal battles it couldn't afford. Inside, employees worked insane hours, bonded by stress and loyalty, surviving on the belief that they were building something bigger than themselves. Outside, failure looked inevitable. This is the part most success stories quietly skip. But this is where Nike truly formed. Under pressure, chaos alone wasn't enough. Something deeper had to emerge. A way of thinking, a structure beneath the madness. Nike was slowly learning that survival at scale isn't about heroic effort every day. It's about systems. Systems that allow a company to absorb shocks, adapt to uncertainty, and keep moving even when everything feels unstable. This is how global brands actually think and build themselves. They don't rely on motivation or luck. They design principles that keep working when confidence disappears. And if you want to understand how global brands actually think and build systems like this, I've broken all these principles into a practical guide. You'll find the link in the description. Then something shifted. Not overnight, not magically. Athletes began to notice. Runners trusted Bowerman's designs. Coaches talked. Word spread. Nike wasn't just selling shoes. It was listening to athletes in a way big brands didn't. It wasn't corporate. It was raw, experimental, hungry, and that hunger resonated. The breakthrough didn't come from advertising. It came from belief. Nike aligned itself with athletes who weren't just winners, but fighters. People who trained in silence. People who carried doubt. People who wanted more from themselves. The brand wasn't about showing success. It was about chasing it. As sales grew, so did pressure. Banks tightened credit. Internal chaos increased. Knight's leadership was constantly questioned. He wasn't charismatic. He avoided confrontation. He hated public speaking. Yet somehow people followed him. Not because he inspired with words, but because he never quit. He absorbed stress so others could create. He protected the mission even when he didn't fully understand it himself. Nike's culture formed in those years of instability, a culture of risk, experimentation, and relentless forward motion. Mistakes weren't punished, stagnation was. The company learned to move fast, adapt faster, and trust intuition when data failed. It was messy, it was emotional, it was human. By the time Nike finally stabilized, it wasn't just a company anymore. It was a mindset, one built on the idea that limits exist to be tested, not respected. That comfort is the enemy of progress. That greatness isn't reserved for the chosen few, but for those willing to suffer longer than others. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Nike's rise wasn't guaranteed. At multiple points, it should have failed. And that's exactly why it didn't, because every crisis forced clarity. Every threat sharpened identity. Every near collapse removed illusions. And this is where the story stops being about shoes. Because Nike's real product was never footwear. It was belief. Belief that effort matters. Belief that struggle is part of the process. Belief that action beats hesitation. Long before Just Do It became a slogan, it was already the company's survival strategy. The question isn't how Nike became successful. The question is why it survived long enough to become successful at all. And the answer lies not in marketing genius, but in a founder who kept moving forward without certainty, without comfort, and without permission. Because sometimes the difference between failure and history is simply the refusal to stop when stopping would be reasonable. And the most dangerous thing about Nike's story is this. It suggests that the limits you feel right now might not be real at all. Subscribe to the channel. More stories like this are coming.